What's up everyone, this is The One, and today I wanted to talk about 7 new ideas or improvements that I've had come up in my head for Splatoon 2. There's been some talk of Splatoon 3 or Splatoon 2 DLC, especially with Sheldon's picks coming back, but I want to make clear that Splatoon 3 is not going to happen anytime soon. Splatoon 2 came out so soon because, well, Wii U to Switch was obviously a very important transition, and to have one of their best new IPs, one of their most popular series, especially in Japan, was very important. But there is no reason to have a new Splatoon for this console at all, especially when it's so easy to update this one and to just add a bunch of things. They could honestly keep continuing DLC whenever they really wanted to, and I think that would be fine. So I want to talk about ideas or improvements I would like to see happen in the game. So let's get into the video. Now I'm going to start off with less drastic changes and get into more drastic changes as we go. Not in an exact order, but just a general rule of thumb. So, the first and most obvious thing is that I want there to be a third kit for every weapon. Kits have a huge role in determining viability for certain weapons, and having a bad kit can really ruin your weapon. A good example is the Bamboozler, and while the main weapon is completely solid on Bamboo, both of its kits suck, so it sees no usage, and has no reason to be used really. Now, a lot of weapons have gotten Kensa kits, 16, and now 10 of them are getting Sheldon's kits as well, on different weapons obviously. So now, more weapons will have 3 kits than have 2 kits. I honestly think every weapon should get either a Kensa pick, a Sheldon pick, or maybe something new entirely, like, I don't know, maybe a Rockenberg pick or something like that. I think it should be pretty obvious that having every weapon get 3 kits will increase the weapon diversity drastically, considering it's already very diverse, and will help fix the idea that weapons don't have good kits, so it can't be viable, as it'll have a much higher chance of having at least 1 viable kit, if not 2, or occasionally 3. I think it'd be a really big help to have 3 kits on everything, and I think at this point it should happen, especially considering we have more with 3 kits than at 2 kits. It just doesn't make sense to not go all the way and give everything a 3rd kit. Especially considering some of the worse and less relevant weapons are getting 3 kits. I think it makes sense to have everything get a 3 kit. Anyway, the next one is Salmon Run. Well, I can't really show anything off, obviously, because I'm recording here. But Salmon Run, I just feel, is a very bland and boring mode. It's fun for the first week or 2 if you're new to the game, and if you played it when it came out, it was fun for the first month or 2. And then it got bored immediately. It's very similar, there's only 5 maps, it's all the same kind of thing, there's limited different waves, etc, etc, etc. I want to see a kind of expansion. This could even be a paid DLC like Octo Expansion. Maybe a few new maps. I think 5 or 6 weapons should be there instead of 4, you'd still alternate that way, but this way you could at least have more. There should be 2 maps in each rotation instead of 1, because playing the same map gets boring. Maybe some kind of endless mode, or picking your own weapons instead of being limited to land mode. Maybe allowing all of the specials to be in, or choosing specials. There's so much they could do with this mode, not even counting like expanding things like different mobs or ideas that they could do for that. But there's so much more they could do with this mode, and this was one of the main new multiplayer additions, was a co-op mode, and it feels so bland, and it feels like they've done pretty much nothing with it besides maps since it came out, which basically that is all they've done. And I feel the mode could be way more interesting, but right now it's just like, it feels like ARMS, but in one mode, and to where it like gets so boring so fast that it's just a chore to play. And especially when you get stuff like ability tickets from it, and that's pretty much your only reliable place to go. Like, it's so fucking boring. They really need to improve it, and I feel it could be way, way more fun if they improved it. Next is a points for special overhaul. Currently, every weapon has either 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200, 210, 220, or 230 points for special. But a lot of weapons just have points for specials that don't make sense. For example, Forge Pro was nerfed to 200 points for special a bit prematurely due to it being the only good bubble weapon at the time, and it hasn't been changed since. Same for Range Blaster, which sees pretty much no use. There's a lot of weapons that have just unnecessarily high points for specials, or some that have unnecessarily low points for special, like Kensa Undercover Umbrella, that should really be changed to have more. I think in general a kind of range should be set for specials. I don't think anything should have less than 170 points for special or more than 230, or else a change should have to be done elsewhere. 160 and 150 are just way too low to get special, and I think it just makes the weapon more of a special spammer than anything. And over 230 is just ridiculously high, where even the best painting weapons are going to be taking a while to get specials. I think 230 is fair for certain weapons, cough cough, but I think it's plenty fine to keep it at this. So, revising a lot of the points for specials for some of the weapons that have not been touched for a while, again, such as the Vanilla Rapid, Range Blaster, and stuff like that, and just overhauling it just a bit, just looking at a lot of weapon points for special and changing it. and just setting that range so that no weapon can have too much or too little points for special. Right now they've done pretty good with that, but there's still some outliers that obviously have way too little points for special. Even if the weapon is bad, I feel it's much better to change the main weapon than to just reduce the points for special a bunch. It feels like an unnecessary buff that doesn't change anything, and it just turns you away from the main weapon into a special spammer. It's not fun. Next is a rank mode overhaul. I'm not going to talk long about this one. This is the one everyone expects. It's really simple. Just make it back to Splatoon 1. Meaning, fuck regional matchmaking, because North America is garbage, and the West is garbage compared to Japan in terms of how many players are good at the game. And if the ranking system was good was done well, then skill should matter, not where you're located. Yes, latency is a thing, but honestly, lag is so much more prevalent than latency is, and latency is honestly not that bad. Especially when you're playing something like solo, where it's going to be pretty varied what your experience is anyway. Why not improve the people who are actually good in the West and allow them to play actual lobbies where they can practice, instead of meme lobbies filled with arrow sprays and splooshes and people who don't know how to play the game in X rank. Like, just overhaul it. Right now, it just more rewards playing the game than anything. Like, the very simple Splatoon 1 rank system was good. Like, winning gave you X amount of points depending on where you were, and losing took away X amount of points. You could even keep rank X, just have it be that same kind of point system, but have it more set how you win or lose based on stuff. But it was very simple. Like, the top rank in S plus 80 or higher was super hard to maintain because you win and you get 2, and you lose 5. And it made it super hard to maintain, so the people who were there were really, really good at the game because they had to consistently win 3-1 in order to get 1 point every time, which is really good for a top rank. So I would really like to see something like that happen again because it makes it a lot more fair. Honestly, though, taking away regional matchmaking would make it a lot better. If they're going to keep rank X, at least reduce the power range that you could be matched with. Right now it's like 500, make it to like 200, and just get rid of the fucking regional matchmaking. It can be way better. But right now, the ranking system is pretty hot garbage. Next is map and mode changes. There are a few maps and modes that just really need to be some overhauls. Just mainly things where 1 point is a little bit stupid. For example, Clam Blitz on Kelp Dome, a little bit of a nitpick here, but it's kind of the best example of throwing in clams from top mid. It's pretty bad design in my opinion. Just being able to score from the middle of the map and having to go all the way through the sides in order to contest it is just something that should not really be there. And then there were things like Kelp Dome, not Kelp Dome, on Black Belly Tower Control, where if you just get to a certain point, like the second checkpoint, it's free. The biggest example was Kelp Dome. They actually did fix that to where it's slightly better. Still not really good, but it's better. So I just like to oversee some of the map modes people generally consider worse, and of course Schellendorf as a whole could use a damn rework. And just re-looking at those, if the community is going to continue to just be like, oh, we want all 92 map mode combinations because fuck learning actual strategies on some of them, or fuck any kind of specific strategies on any of them, you're going to have to learn a general comp for pretty much 92 of them. Oh, we'll use rank X maps, but yeah, there's 32 that are rotating every month, so good luck ever keeping a solid strategy on that before it goes away. So if we're going to do that, at least let's hope Nintendo could overhaul some of these maps and just make the worst of the worst in terms of how the maps work just a little bit better, at least. Maybe that could help things a bit. The new 2 changes here are the main ones that I want to talk about, and for this I'm going to hop out of the testing range. So 1 second, please. So here I want to talk about something that's pretty overlooked, and one of the main changes happened here was so good and no one talks about it. Abilities. So one thing they did that was probably one of the best ability or design changes in general from the team is combining Cold-Blooded and Bomb Defense. Nintendo seems to make it clear that they don't want to exactly get rid of certain abilities. However, the idea of merging some to get rid of useless abilities and put them with useful abilities is really, really cool. And I do wish we'd get something more like that. Which abilities to be merged are pretty hard to tell, but there are definitely some abilities which see less use than others, so maybe giving them some kind of new perk, or maybe merging a few, could be really interesting. It's going to be tricky to tell which could really be merged, or which shouldn't be, but I think a lot of mainly the main abilities could use some overhauls, maybe making Tenacity's effect stronger for like 1 person or 2 person down, maybe making Last Ditch last 45 seconds, things like Drop Roller being faster, or Respawn Punisher not affecting you as hard as the other player, but making it a little more closer to even. Making things like Thermalink or Haunt, maybe merging these, something like that. You could make it a lot better. Like, I think Thermalink and Haunt are like the main 2 things to merge. They even look almost the same, and no one really uses any of these except like Thermal and Blob, which isn't even a good weapon. So the idea of just overhauling weapons or overhauling abilities, excuse me, and just giving them like new reasons to use, like they did with Bomb Defensive DX and got rid of a garbage ability that was Cold Blooded, so people couldn't just use it in meme, was actually great, and I'd love to see more in the ability department. And the last thing is pretty simple, and let me get over here. Last off, we're going to go to a screen that most people don't even know exists by clicking Subbing Special explanation. Now, sub-weapons are the last thing I want to talk about. This is the most drastic change, but I think it is a perfectly good change at this point. So, let me count real quick how many bombs we have. Lethal bombs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And how many non-lethals we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very close in the amount of lethal bombs and non-lethal bombs. And oftentimes, well, there are some exceptions, for the most part, bombs are the top tier subs, and everything else is generally a low or mid tier sub. There are exceptions, of course, but most of the time, the subs that are good are bombs. So, instead of just trying to overhaul all these subs to make them more useful, which could make it a little ridiculous. Oh, and Sprinkler is the exception. If I didn't mention that, someone's going to get mad. But yeah, Sprinkler's good. But what if non-lethal subs and lethal subs were mapped to separate buttons? For example, you currently use the right trigger to throw a bomb, and the left trigger is just used for throw clams. Now, you can throw clams by pressing A. So, what if instead this left trigger was mapped to non-lethal subs, and every kit would be paired with 2 sub-weapons, a non-lethal sub, or a lethal sub. That way, you could have 2. And this way, all of the kits that are stuck with bad sub-weapons would also have a good sub-weapon paired with them. It could also leave these subs that are less useful except in the right situations, such as Splash Wall or Toxic Mist, able to be used more without having to sacrifice having a good lethal bomb. And I think it could make it much more interesting and fix a lot of the kits in the game, and just make a lot of kits better. Anyway, those are some ideas I have. I'm sorry if I sound a little funny. I'm not feeling the best today, so however my voice seems to work, that's how it's working. But those are ideas I have. I kind of wanted to make this because I've seen some people talk about Splatoon 3 or ideas. Most of the ideas I've seen have been things like completely overhauling, like making specials 350 points for special, which completely changes how specials work, and just if you make specials more powerful and then 350, then we're going to have like a super special focused game unless you get no time to get it and stuff like that. It's just crazy. Or just ideas of like, oh, we're going to see this in Splatoon 3, Splatoon 3, Splatoon 3. Splatoon 3 is not going to fucking happen. There is no reason for Splatoon 3 to fucking happen. Like, this came out because Wii U was horseshit in terms of sales, and Switch is great in sales, so of course they're going to take a game that was good and make a sequel or a port. Notice how the best Switch games got sequels. Mario Maker to Mario Maker 2, Smash Wii U to Smash Ultimate, and Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2. It's very clear why. These are way sooner sequels than you would expect from these games, but it's because we're going from the Wii U to the Switch. So again, just want to reiterate, Splatoon 3 is 99% not going to happen soon, and I think right now what we could really be speculating on is ideas for Splatoon 2. And those are just a few that I have. So let me know what ideas you guys want. What things do you want to see? And just let me know your thoughts. I'll see you guys in another video. Bye-bye.